Happy Tuesday. This is your reading lesson. We are still working on the central or main idea of a text with supporting details. Now, yesterday you worked on finding supporting details that helped prove or support a main or central idea that was already given to you. Now, today you are going to be doing pretty much all of it on your own. You'll be determining the main or central idea of the text based on the details that are in the passage. So, to do that, we're going to use two big strategies for determining the main or central idea of a text. One, you're going to read closely and you're going to find words or ideas that are repeated. Okay? And now they may not look exactly the same, but if they're words or ideas that you see over and over again, that's important to pay attention to. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to take time to think, okay, what about it? So, what about those words or ideas that are repeated? What about it? And then you're going to write down on the side what you think is important about those things based on what you read. So let's look at this first one. And this is about porcupines. And porcupines are another type of animal that you might find in the woods or in the mountains. So I thought this would be a good place to start. Plus, there is a porcupine in one of the stories that we're going to read this year. So thought we'd get some background on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read it very closely. And as I read it, I'm going to be using my highlighting tool to circle words or phrases that I see more than once. Okay? So we're going to start off with just the facts. Porcupine and the scientific name Erethizon dorsatum. Average weight for a male is 5.5 kilograms. For a female is 4.5 kilograms. Average height is 60 to 100 centimeters. Not very tall. And lifespan is 10 years or more. So they have kind of a long life. And then did you know when baby porcupines are born, their quills are soft, but within an hour they harden? I did not know that. That is so cool. So we're going to get into our actual text here, okay? And I want you to notice that the heading says physiology. Physiology means the way that their body is built or put together. So you know that this section is going to be something about their body, okay? So I'm going to start reading, and as I read, I'm going to pay attention to words or phrases or ideas that are repeated more than once. The porcupine looks most like a prickly beaver. That's true. Its long strands of brown hair look soft, but thousands of quills are tucked inside. That's interesting. The longest quills are found on their back and behind, while the shortest ones are on their face. Each quill is hollow. It is yellowish in color with a black tip, and it is covered in tiny barbs. Roughly 30,000 quills cover the whole body, except for the stomach, nose, and bottom of their feet. Very interesting. Now, the word that I saw repeated over and over again was quills. So let's see here. Quills. Quills. Shortest ones is still quills. Each quill. Quills. 30,000 quills. That's a lot of mentioning about their quills. So one thing that I'm going to go ahead and put over here, I'm going to use my select tool. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say that the word quills is repeated a lot. And I'm just going to save that. So let's go ahead and go to the second paragraph here. The porcupine has a small face, small ears, short legs, and thick, small tail. Its flat feet and sharp, rounded claws make it well adapted to climbing trees. Porcupines rely heavily on smell as they're short-sighted. I didn't know that either. So, I kept seeing the word small. Now, I even think that short could also be part of that because kind of short and small kind of in my mind go together. Um so I see that their body is small and short. I'm seeing that as well. Now, another thing that I kind of noticed is that right here it talks about its feet are flat and sharp and it's got claws, can climb trees. Now, I noticed that it's flat feet and sharp, rounded claws. So, to me, I'm kind of noticing this pattern here. So, their claws are sharp, but they also have quills on them, which are sharp. They're covered in tiny barbs. So, I think that's also interesting to think about. So, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add that word small to my repeated words list. And I could put short, but short and small kind of go together. And they are both referring to how big the body is. So now I'm going to ask the question of myself. I'm going to ask, what about it? What about its body? Okay. So the things that I noticed is that a porcupine has lots of quills covering its whole body, as I kept talking about the quills, the quills, the quills. So that's clearly an important thing. And then I also noticed that its body is small. Okay. So to me, when I think about the porcupine's body, I'm thinking, obviously it is a smaller animal and it is covered in quills almost entirely. So that's my main idea here. So I'm going to say the porcupine, if Stevens can spell, is a small animal that is covered almost entirely with quills. So when I take the things that are repeated in this section, and I know it's about the body, I have to ask myself, what about this? What about its body? And those words that were repeated helped me come up with this main idea that the porcupine is a small animal. Kept talking about how small it was down here. And it's covered almost entirely with quills. It talked about all these different quills all over its body. So to me, that is the main or central idea of this little part here about its body. Okay? So I use those two strategies. I read closely to find words or ideas that were repeated. And then I take time to think, what about it? And I write down on the side. So I found those repeated words, which were quills and small. And I thought, what about it? What about the body? The body of the porcupine is small. It's a small animal covered almost entirely in quills. And that's really all there is to it. So let's practice this one now. Now, I know that this one is going to be about its habitat and behavior. So I definitely need to keep that in mind. Now remember, I may not find repeated words. Okay? You're not always going to be promised that. But I may find ideas that are repeated. Okay? Like when I was talking about the short and the small, that those kind of went together for me, so I circled them both. Okay? So let's take a look here. Porcupines stick close to trees. Beyond the forest, you may find them alongside river undergrowth and maybe in the trees by a rocky ledge. They live in dens found around rock piles, caves, fallen logs, and trees. Generally, they stay close to home, leaving their dens for food. Porcupines eat a variety of shrubs, bark, water plants, and they love anything salty. Oh, good to know. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this first section. And even though they may not have said the same word over and over again, I kept noticing they were talking about trees in some way. Trees, forests, okay? Trees. I count fallen logs because fallen logs, they come from trees. Trees again. Okay, so I'm seeing that over and over again. Now, something else I saw is that they eat bark, which comes from trees. So one repeated term I'm going to put in here is I'm going to put trees or forests. Okay? Another thing that I saw that was repeated numerous times, rocky, rock pile. Okay, so I might also find them near rocks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to this. Rocks. Okay. Now, that's one way of me looking at that here. Now, down here, this is talking about the way that they act. Okay, remember we said this was about their habitat and their behavior. Okay, so let's take a look here. A peaceful animal. The porcupine will try to run away if it feels there's danger. They'll make loud chattering noises as a warning for predators to leave. If they can't get away, the muscles tighten, forcing their quills to come out. It will tuck its head in, lean forward, and thump its back feet while swinging its tail as a warning. Sometimes loose quills fly out of the tail, or if a predator tries to get too close, the quills will stick them. The quills are an amazing defense mechanism, so they're bringing up those quills again. When they get lodged in the skin, body heat makes the barbs swell, making it even harder and more painful to pull them out. So again, I would look in here to see what did I see repeated, or what did I notice that they kept bringing up? Okay, so a lot of this, I saw the word predator a lot. Predator. And another thing right here, for predator, even though this doesn't say predator, it says danger. I mean, a predator is associated with danger, right? So another thing I'm noticing here is that they will make noises or do things. So right here it says chattering noise as a warning. I noticed that. Their quills come out. They tuck their head and they lean forward and they thump its back feet as a warning. Right there, they're talking about warnings. So I'm seeing that they're giving a lot of warnings. Okay? So again, I'm seeing that they talk about that they do have predators, obviously, and that they try to warn their predators. So I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to add that here. Predators. Warning predators. So those are ideas that are repeated, okay? Animals like bears, bobcats, and lynx involve wolves and coyotes have also been known to be big predators. That's repeated again. But the biggest of them all is a fisher. And they don't mean somebody who goes out and fishes from a boat. It's an actual animal. Thought of as an expert in hunting porcupines, the fisher will flip its prey onto its back to avoid getting pricked by sharp quills. Oh, wow. That is very interesting. And they did mention that a lot. So I think that's pretty important. Again, we have this predator here, but it mentions the fisher. And that they can flip them back to avoid getting pricked by the quills. That is crazy to me. So I'm going to go back to here. Fisher is predator. I saw that. So now I have to ask myself, what about these things? Let's take a look here. So we saw this is where they live, trees, forests, rocks, that area. And there's predators. They warn their predators, and the fisher is their biggest predator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it in my own words. So I see that porcupines live near forests and rocks, but they have predators like the fisher that they try to, if they get too close, they try to warn them. That's what I'm seeing from this. So I'm going to go here. The porcupine lives near forests and rocks. They have predators like the fisher, and they try to warn them if they get too close. See, that sentence kind of puts everything in there that I noticed that was really important. Okay? I took these words and I just put them into a sentence that made sense. Porcupine lives near forests and rocks. They have predators like the fisher, and they try to warn them if they get too close. Okay? So, boys and girls, that is how that you find the main or central idea of a text when you're reading. Those are two strategies that you can use. There's other strategies too, but those are two fairly easy ones. So again, you're going to read closely and you're going to find words or ideas that are repeated. And the second thing you're going to do is you're going to take time to ask, what about it? And then write it down on the side. So you are actually going to do that with a little article about grizzly bears, because that's another forest and possibly a mountain animal as well, depending on where you are. And again, you have physiology, which is about its body. So you'll circle repeated words or ideas, and then you're going to write me a sentence about what about it. You will do the same thing with its habitat and behavior, just like I modeled for you. Repeated ideas and words, and what about it. And I hope that helps. That is your assignment for today for reading.